Hi. If you were wondering where I've been the past 2 weeks or so, quite simply, I have been suffering. Like, sporting-wise, it has not been a fun week. At all. Let's recount the week, shall we? Vancouver Canucks bottled the NHL playoffs. Yet again. I went to see the Inter-Miami match against Vancouver Whitecaps. But just days before, it was announced Messi, Suarez, and Busquets wouldn't be there. And we lost. So the worst of both worlds. Not only that, Vancouver Whitecaps are now on a 6-game winless streak in the MLS. Now I have to report this news. Lovely, isn't it? Let's go all the way back to January-ish of this year, when after a loss to Villarreal, Xavi announced that he would be stepping down as Barcelona manager at the end of the season. Now, immediately after this, it was like Barca players found a second wind, and our form improved drastically after the announcement. We fought admirably in the league, going on quite a long undefeated streak, and also reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time since 2020. Of course, after that, we exited to PSG, but still, it feels good to be back in the quarterfinals. And this will help Barca's finances undoubtedly. Now, throughout all of that, the board tried their best to convince Xavi to stay after seeing this uptick in form because, well, of course, right? After seeing the miracle Xavi is performing here, I mean, you kind of have to want him to stay, and I'll be clear, I mentioned this in my last El Clasico video, but I never wanted him to leave. Consider the situation we were in. Awful finances, little to no transfer activity, no Busquets replacement, an aging striker and an inexperienced backup. I mean, it was just a mess. But working with this, Xavi managed to get the best out of this squad, and he even managed to revive the careers of a few players known for being unprofessional, such as Aubameyang comes to mind, and there's also Joao Cancelo and Joao Felix. He's pretty good at man management, if you ask me. Anyways, after months of begging, the board finally convinced Xavi to stay. He changed his mind and decided he would stay on as Barca manager beyond the season. And that's where our story begins. Despite a few more losses such as Real Madrid and Girona, which secured Real Madrid's title, Barcelona managed to secure second place under Xavi, so, all good, right? We got a Supercopa spot next season. Well, think again. Barely a month after Xavi changed his mind, Joan Laporta suddenly announced that Xavi would not continue as manager beyond this season, essentially sacking him 1 month after convincing him to stay. What? All of this apparently comes after Laporta took issue with one of Xavi's press conferences. I believe it was the one after the Almeria match. Basically, Xavi brought up the club's horrible financial situation, saying, "We are going to try to compete. The situation is difficult financially. It has nothing to do with what used to happen 25 years ago, when the coach came and said, 'I like this player, this one, and this one.' It doesn't work like that anymore. As the coach, I understand what's happening, and that's how we're going to manage things. Right now, we are not in the same conditions as other clubs with better financial fair play. That's the reality. The fans should know. But this doesn't mean that we won't try to achieve our goals." There's nothing too drastic about that. He's not outright saying, "We have no hope," right? But Laporta found issue with that, apparently, and it led to this whole mess, so... What is happening? The only thing Xavi really said was that we need to have realistic expectations, or we can't get every player we want, sometimes compromises have to be made. I'm not a manager myself, nor am I overly familiar with the kind of media training they go through, but that doesn't seem like an outrageous statement to me, certainly not sack-worthy. But Laporta seems to think differently, and Xavi leaves, we spend months convincing him to stay, he finally stays, then 1 month later, we sack him again. Are we Barcelona or Catalan Chelsea? Like, my guy, he hasn't even said Barcelona's story is this, and we're already playing manager roulette. I mean, why? All things considered, Xavi didn't do that badly. Look at how many youth products he brought up who are just ripping it apart right now. I mean, Fermin Lopez, Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí, Henrik Fort, Marc Guiu, among others, all given their debuts by Xavi, and now he's leaving because of a press conference. I mean, I've read that Laporta tends to run the club based on the fan base's emotions. Honestly, he did get us out of the Bartomeu era, which that much I am thankful for, but he's the perfect example of why emotional fans don't make good presidents. They should not be decision makers. But anyways, after this completely embarrassing saga, now Barcelona seems set to sign Hansi Flick as their next manager. His time at Germany was really awful, let's be honest, but I mean, aside from Nagelsmann, both Flick and Love have been pretty awful with Germany these past few years, so we'll see how he does. I mean, let's just hope he brings his Bayern form. And who knows, I mean, I've heard Hansi Flick also really emphasizes physical training, so maybe that physical training can help prevent Pedri's injuries or something. And besides, he's pretty familiar with players like Lewandowski and Gundogan, so hopefully that helps them, especially Lewandowski. Anyways, Xavi is out, Flick is probably in, Real Madrid are most likely getting Davies and Mbappe. Oh, how fun, we're all dead. We're all dead. We're doomed. It's never been more Jover. Anyways, I'm trying to stay optimistic about next season, but we'll see. We'll see how preseason goes, and we have the Euros before that, and World Cup qualifiers before that. Oh, this is just gonna be so fun, isn't it? I mean, I know I haven't talked about the China national team in a while, but I plan to do that very soon. It's gonna be therapy for me. Anyways, I'll see you next time. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that. I'll include the link in the description as well. And yeah, take care. Catalan Chelsea.